for x not 0, y not 0, x over y to the opposite of a, or negative a, is y over x to the a. So a negative exponent tells you to take the reciprocal of the base. The base is x over y. The reciprocal of x over y is y over x. So a negative exponent tells one to take the reciprocal of the base. Now let's look at some examples. 4 to 0 power is 1. Any base raised to 0th power is 1. So if you have a non-zero base with exponent 0, your answer is going to be 1. Let's look at 4 cubed. Well, 4 cubed has a positive exponent. If you have a positive integral exponent, then the positive integer simply tells you the number of times that you use the base as a factor. So the positive integer 3 tells me to use the base 4 as a factor 3 times. So it would be 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Now what happens if you have a negative exponent? 4 to the negative 3. A negative exponent tells me to take the reciprocal of the base. So the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. So 4 to the negative 3 will be 1 over 4 to the positive 3. Negative exponent, take the reciprocal. Now leave the 1, and 4 cubed means 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. So 4 to the negative 3 is 1 over 64. Notice that 4 to the negative 3 is the reciprocal of 4 to the positive 3. And that's what I want you to understand. A negative exponent tells you to take the reciprocal. Now what about the opposite of powers? If you have the opposite of 4 to the 0, you need to put in the parentheses. If there are no parentheses, then the parentheses are understood to go around the power. So there are no parentheses, so I put them in. Leave the opposite outside. This is read the opposite of 4 to the 0 power. So the negative sign goes outside the parentheses. If there are no parentheses, the negative sign is left outside. So doing what's in the parentheses, 4 raised to the 0th power is 1. The opposite of 1 is negative 1. Now in this case, we do have the parentheses, and the negative is inside the parentheses. In this case, the negative is part of the base. So if you have negative 4 to the negative 2, you take the reciprocal of the base, negative 4. So it would be 1 over negative 4 squared. Now negative 4 squared means negative 4 times negative 4. A negative times a negative is positive. So a negative 4 times a negative 4 is a positive 16. So I get as my answer 1/16. Negative 4 to the negative 2 is equal to 1 over negative 4 squared, which is 1/16. Now what happens if the negative is outside, or what happens if you do not have parentheses? If you do not have parentheses, you leave the negative outside the parentheses. So be sure, if you do not have parentheses, to put them in. When you put them in, the negative will stay outside. So I work inside symbols of inclusion first. I do the 4 to the negative 2 first. So I would have the opposite of 1 over 4 squared. A negative exponent tells me to take the reciprocal of the base. The reciprocal of 4 would be 1 over 4. Now of course, 1 over 4 squared would be 1 over 16. So I have the opposite of 1/16, which is a negative 1/16. Fractions as bases provide no more of a problem than numbers, or than integers, except you have to do it more often or more times. If you have 2/3 squared, the base is 2/3. Notice the whole thing's in parentheses. The positive integer 2 tells me to use the base as a factor 2 times. So 2/3 squared means 2/3 times 2/3. Then I simply multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Now if you have 2/3 to the negative 2, then the negative exponent tells me to take the reciprocal of the base. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So 2/3 to the negative 2 would be 3/2 to the positive 2. 3/2 to the positive 2 means 3/2 times 3/2, which is 9/4. Now it's time to see how well you really understood the first part of the lesson. I am going to give you some exercises. As soon as I put the exercises on the screen, you need to copy down the exercises. Once you get them copied, you need to stop the tape, and then you need to work the exercises. If you are unable to work the exercises, then either listen to the tape again or get someone to help you. Once you have the exercises worked, then you restart the tape to check your answers. Anytime your answers disagree with mine, you need to check with someone. Once or twice, I'm going to put up incorrect answers just to see if you're doing what you're supposed to. So anytime your answers disagree with mine, be sure to check with someone. It may be that you didn't miss it, but I do want you to be aware that you should check your answers. If you disagree with what I have, be sure to check. If it's my mistake, or if I've decided to give you an incorrect answer to see if you're asking, that's fine. If it's your mistake, then you need to find out what you're doing wrong so that you can fix it before you do a lot of incorrect practice. Here are your exercises. I will read them for you. As I read them, copy them down. And then once you get them copied, be sure to stop the tape. Then you can work them and restart the tape to check your answers. The first one, 5 cubed. 5 exponent 3. The second one, 5 to the negative 3rd power. 5 exponent negative 3. The third one, negative 8 squared. Negative 8 exponent 2. The fourth one, the opposite of 8 to the negative 2nd power. The opposite of 8 exponent negative 2. The fifth one, 3/5 squared. 3/5 squared. The sixth one, 3/5 to the negative 2. The seventh one, 3/5 to the 0 power. 3/5 to the 0 power. The eighth one, the opposite of 9 to the 0 power. Now I'm going to give you the answers. The answer to the first one is 125. The second one, 1 divided by 125, or 1/125th. The third one, 64. The fourth one, a negative 1/64. The fifth one, 9/25. The sixth one, 25/9. The seventh one, 1. The eighth one, negative 1.